This meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Bauer.
Here.
Freeholder Johnson.
Here.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Can we please stand for a salute to the flag? I'm going to ask that Freeholder Siebel lead us in the salute. I'd like to recognize, before we start, a moment of silence, Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you very much. We had a terrible tragedy in the town of Livingston, where I live. Last night, a group of kids who are going to be seniors at Livingston High School were at the Ramapo Reservoir. One of the girls was having trouble in the water, and another young man jumped in to try and save her, and they both drowned. The entire town is in mourning today. It was a terrible, terrible tragedy. Both kids were to be seniors starting in a short period of time. So I think we need to be silent in mourning for the families and the friends and the two kids who unexpectedly died. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebel. Will you please remain standing for a moment of silence? Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are two. Conference board meetings, June 21st, 2018 and July 11th, 2018.
Freeholders, do we have any questions or comments? Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to approve the transcripts?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, let's move to the public comment session on agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any agenda item, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. This is for agenda items only, please. Okay. Hearing or seeing none, if there is any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Frederica Bay. I'm the chair of the New Jersey Coalition for Due Process of Law. We come before you when we think that you can do things better, and we come tonight before you because you did exactly the right things today. We want to thank County Executive Joe DiVincenzo for yanking $3.8 million from Wells Fargo, and we'd like to applaud you. We talked with the County Executive Office yesterday about the article on Friday saying that they're sorry for hundreds of homeowners in Charlotte that Wells Fargo took their homes and put children, grandmothers, grandchildren out in the street and in homeless shelters. for greed, and they say, we're sorry. On Thursday, Wells Fargo to pay $2.9 billion fine over decade-old mortgage. So on today, we were very, very happy to hear from Vice President Wayne Richardson, who calls us. He was out of town on business. Certainly happy to hear from Reverend Slaughter, who's out of town on vacation with his family in Hawaii. And they were all glad to tell us what you did through our county executive, and we're very, very proud. Last thing, we asked county executive, thank you. We asked county executive, and he did agree, talked to Phil last night, that we need a letter of protection from Wells Fargo. We met with Senator Cory Booker's office, had a wonderful meeting. We met with Senator Menendez's office, and I think it was Marilyn English who said, we have a senator on the judiciary, we have Senator Menendez, ranking member of Housing and Banking. We should not be in foreclosure for 3 years in a row as a state. They agreed. So they have implemented an inquiry for us in HUD and in the banking and in Consumer Protection, Financial Protection Agency. Wells Fargo, we had a meeting, as you all know, with Wells Fargo at their request at St. James Church with Reverend Dr. Slaughter. Long story short, the end of the meeting, Wells Fargo's Senior Vice President, Hugh Rowan, committed to doing a forensic audit on the fraud that we brought to their table from all of us individually and collectively.
Time's up.
So they agreed to do the audit. We are having investigation with HUD. So we're asking the county, because the county has given a resolution. Our county executive gave a proclamation. He said he would do it, to write a letter to Wells Fargo, and I sent that all to you, asking for a moratorium, a cease and desist, until the report and findings are concluded from the internal and external investigations. Can we get that from you? Mr. President.
So that's new information. I'm gonna, I know we don't normally respond, but I'll just say this, that's new information, and I'll wait back to hear from our, as it pertains to the moratorium while that is going on, and I'll wait back to hear both from the administration and from our council on what's within our power to do. Once I understand what's within our power, absolutely, we'll look at that. I would just say, and I know your time is up, I wanted to actually use this as an opportunity to call on our county administrator, Robert Jackson, just to, since I think it's pertinent to this particular issue, just to talk a little bit quickly about what transpired today, and if there's anything else in addition to add.
That'd be great. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we're very happy today to announce that the continuing process, if you may recall, Mr. President, we talked about, I think it was in June, about beginning a process of withdrawing assets from Wells Fargo. That process did begin, and because it's complicated because it's associated with some grants, and we have to reconfigure how we receive those grants and disperse those grants. It's been a little bit more complicated than we thought, but the process is well underway. And I wanted to take this opportunity, too, to thank the members of the board, you, Mr. President, the Vice President Richardson, and all the members of the board for working so cooperatively and actually helping us get to this point. The banking plan is a plan that's approved by the Board of Chosen Freeholders, and your willingness and really spurring this process on and working so well with the administration to make it happen makes the difference. And so I know that, you know, the county executive certainly was anxious and eager and insistent that this be done, but it was no less an important issue for the members of the board. And in fact, we've been talking about, the board has been talking about this for a long time, and I just really wanted to take the opportunity to thank the board for its diligence and hard work in making this all come about. and also to thank Ms. Bay and her organization, Reverend Jefferson and others who were so forceful on the issue. I think took a little bit, but I think we've come to a great place, and it would not have been possible without the cooperation of the administration, the board, and really involved citizens.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Jackson. Before we return to public comment, let me just echo all those sentiments and say that, thank you, Ms. Bay, for your continued leadership on this issue. I also had a very good exchange today, with Reverend Slaughter as well on this, and it was he who brought made sure that I saw the original article that appeared last week. Was aware of it, but really, I think we were there collectively, and I'm glad to see that we were able to work with the administration and in the best interest of our community. So, and thank you for your continued leadership. I know it's a small step, it's a first step, and we will continue to do what we can. Absolutely. And I would finally say too that I think the second part of this, which we hope to come back onto, is where we will end up putting now this money that, and it's my hope, and I'll put it on the record now, that we find a community bank that's a good actor in this space and on this issue, and that we find a community bank that we can, it's my hope that we can move this money to. So that being said, returning to public comment session. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record again, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Katie Singer. I live in Millburn, New Jersey, and I teach in the Newark Public Schools here. And I'm here to ask that the Essex County cease its immigration detention center contract with Immigration and Customs Reinforcement, ICE. I attended last month's meeting in Livingston, and y'all walked out when we started singing a protest song. A walkout to protest, so I guess you were protesting the protest. As a historian, I'm reminded of the Fugitive Slave Act right about now. Free people rounded up for money. Historical patterns certainly are repeating themselves these days, and it's really heartbreaking. So I have some questions for you guys. Questions are requests for responses, so I'm requesting some responses from you at some point to the following. What don't we who are against this contract understand? What can you explain to us to make us understand why the contract has been in effect since 2011? Why won't you speak to the people? How does this qualify for government of and for the people when the government won't answer the people's questions? Why did you want to be a freeholder in the first place? How am I supposed to vote for someone I haven't heard speak? Do you want my vote? Are you supporters of the so-called president's immigration policies? Do you have children or nieces or nephews? Can you picture them as the child who recently died after release from a detention center in Texas? Can you imagine your child being sexually abused like the one in Arizona? Can you think about a stranger taking that child you love and placing them in a cell? Please take the time to imagine these scenarios, to think about these questions, and to speak to those who you serve. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
How you doing? My name is Darrell Taylor. I'm a lifelong resident of Newark, New Jersey, and I am now the Director of Bands of the Essex and Union County Marching Band. Just to tell you a brief summary of myself, for the past 31 years, I'm an assistant band director at Weequahic High School. And during that time, everybody pretty much, Weequahic High School band, we run national championships over the past over the past 13 years. Just recently, the head band director retired. And I inquired about taking over as head band director, but they told me no because I didn't possess 60 college credits. So at that point, the band dissolved. Kids left, and there was no more band program. So I sat back with my brother, and I said, listen, we can't let these kids be on the streets like this. So what we did, we formed a nonprofit marching band. It's called the Essex and Union County Marching Band. And we've already had our first performance, 4th of July in Montclair. I'm here pretty much because this venture, I need a lot of help as far as reaching out to contacts for support as far as instruments, a place to rehearse. You know, I have 90 kids right now, and we're pushing 120 that are already done signed up. Everybody knows what's going on in these streets in Newark. I mean, I'm also a retired police officer. I worked in Newark for 14 years, and being in the law enforcement and education system, I know how important music is. I mean, I put kids in college every year, and every kid can't throw or catch a football, dribble a basketball, hit a baseball, and music is a way out for a lot of these children. And for them to just, the program just going. So 50 kids hit the street. I went, took $8,000 of my money. I bought 25 instruments, a set of drums, and I started this program. We practice in Weekway Park when it's sunny. And the point I'm here now to ask for help, to see if any of you freeholders or anybody can point me in the right direction as far as seeking, how do I go about getting instruments, a good location to practice. Like I said, we have our 501c3 already. We are a registered business with the state of New Jersey. And I'm just trying to get help so I can further, you know, get these things to keep these kids off the street. And like I said, tomorrow I'll be speaking at the Union County
30 seconds.
Freeholders meeting as well. You know, this has never been done before, bringing a dual county marching band together with kids from Verona and Newark and Milburn. And it kind of helps bring all ethnicities as well as nationalities together to let the children in the suburban areas know that they don't have to be scared of the kids in the urban areas, and the kids in the urban areas don't have to be intimidated by the kids in the suburban areas. Because I've experienced that at Weekway when we played at Verona and Boonton, how, you know, they perceived us and how our children perceived them. And I want to use this as a platform to bring everybody together under the banner of music to show that we can all get along, play good music, and be the best band up and down the East Coast. So hopefully, you know, somebody can point me in the right direction and, you know, help me out with this venture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to make sure that we get your name. We always get your name and information. Let's make sure you get the name and address, and we'll be sure to follow up. We'll be sure to follow up. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lisa Maddox Douglas, and I am the president for the Public Employees Supervisors Union within the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits. We represent approximately 150 supervisory individuals who, what we do is we make sure that the individuals within our county are serviced, that they have their housing needs met, that they have their medical needs met, whatever needs that they actually require, especially as it relates to all of the opioid addiction crisis that we have here and all of the other societal ills that our constituents within the county face. We ensure that these individuals are serviced. I'm here first and foremost to thank the county. I know that sometimes you always get bad reports, but to thank you for ensuring that our retroactive pay, because we had a contractual pay or increment that we were entitled to. The unfortunate part is that most of our individuals and our supervisors, they had to wait for 8 months to receive this. But we are thankful that we will be getting that in this pay. From what I understand, I did have an opportunity to speak with someone. And I just wanted to thank all of you for that, and I'm sure that we will be working together to ensure that we have all of our promotional opportunities addressed. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Kate Dodd, and I'm here tonight, first of all, to thank you for your service to the county, and to ask that as a member of the county, I live in East Orange, that you end the contract with ICE to detain immigrants. When I came tonight, I wasn't expecting to come and see students receiving scholarships, but it was a wonderful thing to see, and my immediate thought was, what if the young woman who had come from the Dominican Republic, what if she had been detained by ICE? What if one of her parents had been detained by ICE? What if she couldn't go on to use a scholarship that she won to explore her future and instead had to either take a job or stay home and take care of young children because a parent had been put into criminal detainment when all they had done was to ask for asylum, possibly a civic offense? Why are people who are asking for a right that all of us take for granted being treated as criminals and being treated with the kind of inhumane treatment that goes on in the Essex County Detention Center? I hope you'll consider ending the contract, and I agree with the previous speaker in that I think the questions need to be answered if you expect our votes. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi. Thanks. Appreciate it. Hi. Mr. President, members of the board, my name is Rob Latz. I'm a lifelong resident here of Essex County, and thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm also here to exercise my First Amendment right. I want to tell you a story, okay? My grandfather was an undocumented immigrant named Joseph Ewan. At a very young age, he came to this country from Toisan County, Guangdong Province, southern China, by himself. He was sponsored by a distant relative who claimed that my grandfather was his son, and like many young Chinese boys in his generation, he was a paper son. Growing up as a young man in Washington, D.C. and Boston's Chinatown, he was no stranger to hard work. He worked many hours in a laundry business, and he taught himself a lot about electrical engineering. When World War II happened, my grandfather joined the U.S. Army and was stationed in Ohio in an all-Chinese regiment. He became an expert radio engineer. After World War II, my grandfather worked with the Naval Research Laboratory, putting some of the first American rockets and satellites into space before NASA even existed. My grandfather did not receive a college education. He was an undocumented immigrant as a little kid who came to this country and became a rocket scientist on his own volition. Like many of us, I've been deeply disturbed by the extraordinary efforts of the current federal administration to separate families and deport individuals over increasingly trivial matters. I believe that these actions are part of a wider effort to sow discord in our society, while the Republican Party seeks to push a selfish and short-sighted agenda onto all of us. I believe that we need to stand together against this administration, and I believe that ending Essex County's contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement would send a message that we do not accept family separations and that the unnecessary detainment and deportation of immigrants is unacceptable. Just last night I was listening to NPR and I heard a story about a mentally ill man who grew up in the US without documents and had struggled with mental illness and then was detained on minor charges because of the Trump administration's recent efforts, and he killed himself in detention, in an ICE detention facility. That could have been me. That could have been any one of us in this room. So the point is that ICE detention centers are violently wrong. And even with the Trump administration's decision to reunify families, we're seeing a wave of criticism against ICE from across society. You may have heard that the eminent management consulting
30 seconds.
firm, McKinsey & Company, the preeminent management consulting firm in the world, recently ended its contract with ICE. So I'm here to ask you, why can't the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders end its contract with ICE? I understand that you have $1 million multi-million-dollar revenue from ICE, but you all seem like a smart bunch, so why can't you find the revenue from somewhere else? I think it's very possible, and I would invite you to stand together with us to send a message to this administration
Time's up.
to end the contract with ICE. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jason Bohm. I'm actually from Sussex County, New Jersey, a town called Stanhope, where I'm a member of the Sussex County Democratic Committee, and I'm also a candidate for town council in the town of Stanhope under the Democratic ticket. I work 50 hours a week, sometimes 70, driving a tow truck. I also attend Rutgers Newark, where I'm a graduate student in the history program, specifically American history. I don't tell you this to sound tough or cool. I tell you this because I don't have time to come all the way down to Newark to speak at a Freeholder meeting for anything that is not of the utmost importance. As many of you may know, Sussex County is a Republican stronghold. Almost all of our elected officials are Republicans. Many of these Republicans take pictures in front of Confederate flags. They promote racist bans, racist propaganda, and all of them are vehement Trump supporters. They also lament the relationship this board has with ICE. They wish they had an ICE contract. They wish they could make money profiting off of putting human bodies in cages. And as somebody who's dependent, not on Democratic votes, because if you do the numbers, we lose every time in Sussex County, somebody who's dependent on undeclared and independent voters, when I canvass every single weekend that I have a spare time, when I bring my 2- and 4-year-old around in the stroller, and I talk to people who are independent and undeclared about becoming Democrats or helping out canvassing or voting Democrat, the first thing that gets brought up to me by the majority Latino community that is moving into Stanhope is, what about the ICE detention in Newark? All those people are Democrats. How are Democrats any different than Republicans? And I understand the pragmatism that has to go into politics. I've learned very quickly, especially on the committee, that you can't make everybody happy just because they all call themselves the same thing. It's like herding cats. However, since Donald Trump has become president, and he's increased the fascistic policies that already existed in ICE, I think politically speaking right now would be an excellent time for you to sever any relationship that is connected to Donald Trump and his xenophobic, racist, and fascistic administration. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Strube. I'm a Newark resident. This is my 3rd time speaking before the Freeholders. And if I understand correctly, I can formally request for a written comment to come in the future. That's correct? Then I'd like to use my time to very briefly, as possible, do that. I'd like to begin by reiterating my request that you terminate the contract with ICE, Donald Trump's racist Gestapo terrorist force. But I don't want to elaborate on that because we've already heard a lot about that in the last several meetings. I'd like to talk about 2 recent articles in the Star-Ledger and ask for your formal comment on them. The first, you may have seen, it's about ICE's New Jersey spokesman, Emilio Daboul, who previously edited the publication of the largest anti-Muslim hate group in the United States, Act for America. In case you missed the article, Act for America's founder, Bridget Gabriel, says things such as, quote, Muslims cannot be loyal citizens of the United States. Quote, every practicing Muslim is a radical Muslim. The list goes on. I think you get the idea. And again, this is not guilt by association. ICE's New Jersey spokesman edited their journal. He was deeply involved with this anti-Islam hate group. And he's now the spokesman for ICE. The list goes on of his various grotesque, racist, Islamophobic alliances. And what I'd like to formally request as a constituent is that the Freeholders weigh in. You have chosen to contract with ICE. ICE has chosen this racist Islamophobe as its spokesman, and you are now connected to him. I would really like you to publicly denounce him. I'd like you to use the leverage you have with your multi-million-dollar contract with ICE to demand that at the least they fire him. And so that's my first request. I would like a statement as far as how the Freeholders respond to the presence of this hate monger in our state with an organization that you are contracting with. The second thing I'd like to very briefly say is that you may have noticed the editorial in the Star-Ledger, Don't End New Jersey Contracts with ICE, Fight to Improve Jail Conditions. It supported maintaining the contract, but it really hinged that on a moral claim about the good of detainees who could potentially be relocated if the contract were terminated. Now, that's a large topic that we don't have time to address in 45 seconds, but because the moral argument to maintain the contract hinges on the good of the detained, I'd like to again formally request a statement from the Freeholders of the tens of millions of dollars that Essex County has received from ICE in the last 8 years. How much of that has gone into the good of immigrants and immigrant communities? How much of that has gone toward legal aid for people like Fritz Enriquez and a Cuban national who's been in the United States legally on a permanent residency card since he was 1 year old and is now detained in our city of Newark in the county correctional facility because of a 1999 marijuana conviction? We have tens of millions of dollars we're getting from ICE. What have we done for people like Fritz? What have we done for the families devastated by this? The women who are now single mothers because
Time's
their husbands are in jail. So I would just like to formally request some kind of accounting of where that money has gone and how much of that money, if any, has gone toward the immigrants being harmed by Trump and ICE. Thank you.
Good evening. Okay. Don't start yet. Good evening. My name is Jay Arena. I live here in Newark, New Jersey. I am the Jobs and Equal Rights for All candidate for Essex County Executive, and I join with this growing movement here in this room in Newark and around this country to demand that Essex County immediately break their contract with ICE to detain and imprison immigrants, and we want to see that happen with your Democratic friends in Bergen County, in Hudson County, and around this country, because we're fighting for equal rights for all. Also, I have reached out as part of this growing movement to meet with the freeholders. President Gill, I have contacted, had an email from your Assistant Ms. Golding, which I appreciate, but we would like to confirm a time on August 22nd. Of course, we want you, not just a representative. Yes, we expect you to be there because we have not had much of an exchange. We hope that will be an opportunity. We're going to be reaching out to all the freeholders, so we look forward to confirming a date, and we would like that in the evening. And clearly, this is a growing movement. When you have the Star Ledger attacking our movement, that's a sign of the strength of this. When you have reactionary politicians like Bob Menendez criticizing Hudson for renewing their contract, you know we are making advances. You cannot hide from this issue. Now, today, I want to address, there's many important issues that have been brought up by this movement, why this contract needs to end, why ICE needs to be abolished, why we need legalization, equal rights for all. But I want to focus this evening on the issue of labor. And I wanted to address Freeholder Richardson in particular, but he is not here since he is president of Local 55 of the Laborers International Union. But a key principle of a labor movement, of a real labor movement, is an injury to one is an injury to all. And that is clearly relevant with this concentration camp. And again, that is not hyperbole. This concentration camp you run where you throw people in prison without criminal charge, that is a threat to all workers. When we have the immigrant working class terrorized by this outfit, led by these really fascist forces that can tear up families, that can break into when people are laboring and do raids and arrest people and break families up. When that can happen to some 12 million people, that's going to hurt the rights of all workers. So this is an attack not only on the immigrant workers, but on the whole working class. Now, also brought up of a labor issue was in the Star Ledger that, well, this money helps keep taxes down. Well, we say we don't fund our public services by blood money. We say tax the rich, right? We saw the Democrats in Trenton block the millionaires tax, and Joe D's Democrats were shoulder to shoulder with Sweeney's Democrats in blocking this. So we tell Joe D, you don't keep taxes low, you don't fund public services with your blood money, you need to tax the rich. And we need those taxes to fund all services. I thought it was beautiful that the young people were getting a scholarship to college, but I also remember all the other kids that are denied higher education in this state and in this country because of the skyrocketing tuition costs because they refuse to tax the rich. So all of these issues are very much connected. And finally, on the last labor issue I just want to put out is about the workers. Right, there are workers at those jails. We say, get rid of that ice gel and let's put the taxes, tax the rich, into the public services that we desperately need for housing, for health care, for public transportation, and the other, and our sister trade union is talking about the opioid. There are so many issues, burning social issues that we need addressed. Let's take the resources from this concentration camp and put those workers that are there to meeting human need, not destroying human beings.
Thank you. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation. For the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, just before I move, Madam Clerk, I would just say I did receive that the email, and you have my word that that meeting will happen, and it will happen in the evening. So I think the date works, but we will, and if it doesn't, we will make the meeting happen that week for sure. Thank you. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to speak at this time. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. President, we have 2. The first is ordinance 1 naming the courtyard at Essex County Hospital Center in Cedar Grove as the Essex County John Gaykowski County Yard in honor of the late John Gaykowski.
Mr. Jackson, please explain the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of the late John Kikowski was a resident of Maplewood who became involved with the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, Essex County chapter, so that he could have a stronger voice about the care and treatment received by his son, who was diagnosed with mental illness. His involvement grew with NAMI as he served as a trustee and president. When the previous county administrator proposed relocating the old hospital to Newark, Mr. Gaykowski was appointed to a blue ribbon committee impaneled by then Freeholder President Joseph N. DiVincenzo Jr. to review options. Mr. Gaykowski was a quiet and soft-spoken individual, but a fierce advocate for mental health patients and their families. Through his passionate advocacy, Mr. Gaykowski helped make the decision to build the new facility in Cedar Grove. And this will be the courtyard, Mr. President, in the center of the building where the hospital has its most of its events. So this area would be named after Mr. Gaykowski.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Anyan Wu.
No question.
Mr. McInerney.
No question.
Freeholders, any questions or comments? Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bauer, second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Morris, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to ordinance number 2. Please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 2, an ordinance appropriating $4 million by the County of Essex for professional services associated with the construction of the Hall of Records, office complex, and parking deck.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, as members know from a series of subgroup meetings that were held last week, there are an opportunity for us to expand some facilities here around the court complex that are needed for the courts and other services provided by the county. And this appropriation will provide $4 million for the architecture on 2 of those facilities and also for a construction manager to ensure proper construction. And I should add, Mr. President, this money will be coming out of our capital fund surplus, and so it will have no financial impact on the county in that regard.
Thank you. Mr. Anyan Wu. Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, we did have meetings on Monday morning in reference to this. This $4 million, my understanding, is the soft cost, the engineering, the design, the Section 20 costs associated not just with the office building, but also with the parking garage as well. This money, as was said, is available in the fund balance of the General Capital Fund. It's been accumulating there through various bond issues where we sold we were sold at premiums. But this is cash money. It's not anything we need to appropriate. We need to appropriate it, but it's not anything we need to take out of the current fund. It's not anything we need to go out from debt for to get this project started. And then the project, as we know, not to get into it, but is a self-sustaining project in terms of the cost of that project and the anticipated revenues, lease payments that would be available to pay the debt service on it. So it's one thing to go ahead with a $4 million project, but we've already been educated to the fact that there are several tenants that will occupy this location whose rents will pay approximately the amount of the debt service, both principal and interest.
Freeholders, any questions or comments? Any questions or comments, Freeholders?
No.
Do I have a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder
Second.
Johnson. Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, we have two. Mr. President, the first ordinance is ordinance number O-2018-00010, salary ordinance, County of Essex, 2018 and 2019.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance.
Mr. President, I skipped ahead. I just read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance 0-2018-00010 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation. For the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none. Mr. Anyan-Wu, any comments or questions?
No.
Okay, Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't, Mr. President.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
2018-00010. Moved by Freeholder Luciano.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Do I have the same mover and second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number O-2018-00011.
Ordinance number O-2018-00011, naming the Essex County Sheriff Patrol Building in Newark as the Essex County Kevin J. Ryan Sheriff's Headquarters in honor of the late Essex County Sheriff Chief Kevin J. Ryan.
Thank you. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-00011 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against the ordinance, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation. For the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none. Mr. Anyan-Wu.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-00011? Moved by Freeholder Sebald.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Do I have the same mover and second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 1. Madam Clerk, will you please read it?
Resolution 1, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of Hospital Center, authorization to use the competitive contracting process in order to solicit proposals from qualified vendors for the provision of Joint Commission consulting services for the Essex County Hospital Center.
Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, due to a change in law, this service now comes under competitive contracting process, and this is a request that we need to do to get permission from the board to use the competitive contracting process for these consulting services.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Anyanwu? Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano,
Second.
second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 2. Please read it.
Resolution 2, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, approval of sub-grant agreements for 2018 Local History Program grant with the New Jersey Historical Commission, amount not to exceed $23,180.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Zates is here, and with your permission, Mr. President, he will actually be handling items 2 through 8.
Thank you.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Item number 2, we are happy to announce that there have been, or the Parks Department is recommending 12 recipients for the 2018 Local History Program Grant of New Jersey. The awards range from roughly $1,000 to roughly $3,500, and the total funding is $23,180, which is funding that comes from the state.
Thank you. Mr. Anwell?
No question.
Mr. McInerney? Mr. McInerney?
No questions, Mr. President.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Freeholder Siebold?
If you look at the list, you will see that there's so many wonderful groups here in Essex County who will receive money through this historic funding. And I think it's just wonderful that we have this program for so many residents of Essex County.
Thank you. Freeholders?
I couldn't agree more with Freeholder Siebold. I've been, in my past and as a freeholder, I've been privy to some of the municipalities' groups planning and hopes to get these grants, and a little amount of money goes a long way.
Right.
So.
Question. Freeholders? Additional questions or comments?
Through you, Mr. President.
Yes, Freeholder.
Yeah, I'm pleased that the recipients are libraries, schools, so I fully support and commend them for looking out for these institutions to move on.
Excellent. Freeholders? Moved by Freeholder Jones. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Siebel. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 3.
Resolution 3, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, authorization to use the Essex County Recreation and Open Space Trust Fund to fund the contract to Extension Solid Waste Pickup throughout the Essex County Park System, amount not to exceed $387,944.
Right.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 3 and number 4 are related in that number 3 is the funding mechanism for number 4. 3 is a request from Open Space for $387,944 to fund number 4, which is our waste removal service throughout the park system. Just to give you a little background, back in 2016, the Open Space Advisory Board recommended funding for this, and now it's 2 years later, and this is the 24-month option. And if you allow me, we do have a representative for number 4 here.
Why don't we lead 4 into the record at a later time, and we'll hear from the representative now.
Good evening, Freeholders. My name is Daniel Mejias. I'm the Sales and Marketing Analyst for Direct Waste Services.
Want to expand a little bit more on?
Yes, we've been servicing the park's refuse for the last 2 years, and we're grateful that the county has decided to extend that contract. Like I said, we are responsible for removing the debris that's accumulated throughout the parks in Essex County.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Just to elaborate a little more, the program calls for waste removal from mid-March through the end of November of every year, which is 37 weeks, and the cost per week is a little over $5,000.
Real.
Yes.
Real Siebel?
Thank you. We discussed this at the Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board meeting on July 10th, and everyone was in agreement that this will be a wonderful asset to the park for what we really need. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebel. Mr. Anyanwu, any questions or comments?
Is this a 2-year extension of the present contract?
Joshua Zates, that is correct. If you allow us, Mr. President, we do have a little more information on the company that the board may find helpful.
Please.
Oh, excuse me. Direct Waste is an Essex County-based company. We currently employ 97 employees. 40% of that are from Essex County. So we are a locally based company that, again, provides services throughout the county and employs county employees as well.
Okay. Mr. McInerney? I'm sorry, Mr. Daniel. Were you, Mr. McInerney?
I have one question. Are you part of a larger company?
No, T. Faris and Sons is the 901, the DEP license name. We're doing business as Direct Waste Services.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Freeholders, Fielder Bauer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So I have some questions, and they may not relate directly to this contract. I'm not really sure, but so do you go throughout the parks and pick up litter, or is it basically that you expect park users to deposit litter into garbage cans and then you retrieve the waste from the garbage cans?
That's correct. We provide the receptacles that are then loaded, and once they're loaded, we haul them away.
Okay. Who picks up the litter that doesn't get into the garbage cans, Mr. Zates?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President, that would be handled by the Parks Department's maintenance staff.
Okay. And what do you do if there's recyclables in the regular garbage cans?
We try to communicate whenever we notice that there's contamination, recyclables going into the solid waste stream. Whenever possible, we do try to keep that separate. There hasn't been much of an issue with contamination in terms of recycling and the garbage. Again, by the time we collect it, it's already, when we pick it up, it has already been collected. We're just the mode of transport.
Oh, what is, okay, who picks it up? Parks?
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, the parks users would deposit the trash into the trash receptacles, and then this company would then pick up the trash receptacles, put them into their truck, and then dispose of all the waste.
Okay. So my question for the vendor is, if there are, for instance, plastic bottles, I mean, people bring plastic bottles of water to parks. That's a very common thing. So does it get sorted out by your company prior to reaching, for instance, the transfer station, or what happens?
There's certain materials that we have certain receptacles set aside for different commodities. Anything that has already been pre-sorted and separated would then go to a recycling facility to be recycled. Anything that has been put in a trash receptacle, again, we're just the mode of transport, so that would have, that contamination starts at the inception, but whenever we notice that, we communicate that to bring that to light that there has been issues. There hasn't been that much.
Okay. Just the last thing, again, I don't know if this relates, and it sounds like it doesn't relate because it's a pickup from garbage cans or receptacles, but there's a lot of garbage that I believe has probably run off because of the slope into the river at Riverbank Park. I don't know whether that's been cleaned lately because I haven't been there in probably 4 or 5 weeks, but I noticed that when I walked on the walkway closest to the river, so I wonder if Mr. Zates would think about with his colleagues at the department a way to capture that and or just put more trash receptacles or something like that so that all that doesn't wind up collecting along it. It really detracts from walking along the river.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President. The Parks maintenance staff is aware of that issue, and we do try our best to fish it out. But let me bring it to their attention. Maybe we can come up with a better way to kind of prevent it being some netting or something in the area.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Freeholder Siebold.
Thank you. At our Open Space Trust Fund meeting, we were given information which outlines exactly when the different parks will have solid waste pickup, and it goes through a very detailed list in terms of how many times a week, what days, what parks, and so on. It goes on and gives you all the information in terms of the cleaning up of all the parks here in Essex County. It lists all of the parks and all of the locations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder's additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second to take resolutions 3 and 4 together?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares. Absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Absent Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 5. Madam Clerk.
Yes. Resolution 5, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs contract award to Donofrio and Sons to provide landscape maintenance at Riverfront Park, exercising 24-month contract extension option, amount not to exceed $70,500.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 5 is a 24-month extension for our landscape maintenance contract over at Riverfront Park. It is with D'Onofrio and Sons, who have provide these services throughout many of the parks in the system, and specifically this one again is for Riverfront.
Okay, Mr. Anyanwu?
No question.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Absent Freeholder Pomares. Absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 6.
Resolution number 6, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs contract awards to the 12 lowest responsible bidder per item on a unit-based cost basis to furnish and deliver pesticides, fertilizer, grass seed, and sod products. August 10th, 2018 through August 9th, 2019, amount not to exceed $220,000.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. As mentioned, number 6 is for our pesticides, fertilizer, grass seed, and sod products. Specifically, this is the mechanism in order for the Parks Department to purchase these various products, and then the Parks Department itself would spray them. It is used exclusively through our 3 golf courses, and just to get into some specifics of the staff members who do use these chemicals. We have 6 members of the Parks Department golf staff who have the required license to use the pesticides, fertilizer, grass seed, and sod products. All necessary environmental and safety precautions are followed as per their license requirements. Golf course scouts survey the golf courses for disease and insects, and then using an integrated pest management program, the pesticides, fertilized grass seeds, and sod products are used on an as-needed basis.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Anyanwu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Seabold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 6. I'm sorry, resolution number 7.
Resolution number 7, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, authorization to use the Essex County Recreation and Open Space Trust Fund to fund design services for Watsessing Park Community Building, amount not to exceed $145,000.
Very good.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 7 and number 8 are related in that number 7 is the funding mechanism for number 8. If the board will remember, I believe it was last meeting, or if not the last meeting, the meeting before, the board approved a contract for design work for an all-access playground over at Watsessing Park. And this is for the community center building that will be located right next to that playground. Specifically, the project will include the expanding of 20 feet on each side, both north and south, new flooring and ceiling, upgrading the existing bathrooms to be in compliance with ADA standards, renovate any existing storage, upgrade HVAC, fire alarm lighting, upgrade the existing roof, interior and exterior wall finishes and windows, exterior lighting and landscaping, improvements to the drainage, and again, just to make the building ADA accessible, meeting all the current requirements. And we do have the vendor here for number 8.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll read number 8 into the record at a later time, and then we'll hear from the vendor.
Good evening. I'm Lori Shabarazi from Comito Architects. It's my associate, Oswald Samuels. Our business is located here in downtown Newark, where we've been for over 25 years on Warren Street. Many members of our firm are graduates of NGIT, and over 50%, I believe, are Essex County residents. We're excited to give this building a facelift. That seems to be much overdue. I believe there's addition to the building as well as several renovations of all the systems. Also exterior upgrades to the parking lot areas, drop off. Really a total makeover for the building.
Thank you. Mr. Anyan-Wu.
No question.
Mr. McInerney.
No question.
Freeholders.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Again, we discussed this at an Open Space Trust Fund meeting, and we're very happy this improvement is going to be done, and the company doing it has worked for us before, and they do exceptional work, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Freeholder.
Freeholders. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold. We're taking resolutions number 7 and number 8 together.
I'll second it.
Second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk, on resolutions number 7 and number 8.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson absent. Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 9.
Resolution number 9, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of Community Health Services, amendment to 2 existing 2018 county comprehensive alcoholism and drug abuse services agreement to provide additional services under the Chapter 51 Alcohol and Drug Abuse Services grant for 2018, additional amount not to exceed $18,500.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Director Eileen Fishman is here to answer your questions and present items actually 9 through 11.
Good evening, Mr.
Thank you.
President and
Good evening.
freeholders. Eileen Fishman, Community Health Services. This is for additional monies that we received based on monies that we had that we're expending to 2 programs for prevention. There were additional funds, and so it's $18,500, and the need for education and prevention with the school children is really important for the opioid crisis, illicit drugs, marijuana, vaping, and all of those things that we have a serious problem with. And so we decided to fund 2 early intervention prevention programs with that, in part, additional dollars for those programs who already get monies from us for the county, for the prevention education piece.
Thank you. Mr. Anyan-Wu.
Just a question regarding see there's a grant period for the bridge says January 1st, 2018 to December 31st.
They can't hear you.
Apologies. Through you, Freeholder President, the document with respect to the bridge says that the grant period begins January 1st, 2018 and then December 31st, 2018, or is this just to cover a gap period?
Yes, what happened was there were extra monies in the grant, so as not to let them go back to the state, we decided to use them in this way.
Thank you very much.
Mr. McInerney.
Were there agencies that didn't use the funds?
No,
That's why.
administration didn't use the funds. We had a change in employment, in personnel under the grant. And with that change in employment, it allowed extra dollars in the grant. We asked for a modification from the state because we didn't want to send the money back and we could use the money for prevention education. They agreed, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay. Thank you.
Freeholder Siebold.
Thank you. For the record, I just wanted to add that Newark did not apply for any funds, nor did Essex Fells, correct?
Yes, but that's I think the next one that we're talking about, that's not for this particular one.
All right.
Okay? This is for providers,
Okay.
not for towns.
Sorry, I was
No, no.
jumping ahead.
No worries.
Okay, Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second on
So move.
resolution number 9? Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 10.
Resolution 10, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of Community Health Services, approval of 2019 Essex County Municipal Alliance contracts, July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, amount not to exceed $673,458.
Thank you.
Hi, Eileen Fishman, Essex County Community Health. This is our Municipal Alliance grant. Each town should have a municipal alliance. Freeholder Siebold mentioned that Essex Fells and Newark has not applied for one in this coming grant year. Essex Fells does not support the municipal alliance because in fact, it happens to be a lot of work for a little bit of money, and they don't feel it's worth it because they get money based on the population and the need. In terms of Newark, we've had serious conversations with them. I have our Municipal Alliance Coordinator here this evening, Elizabeth Marks. We've met with Newark with the Director of, I think it's Dr. Wade, the Director of the Department of Health for Newark. We've also met with their senior staff, and although they were supposed to come on in this fiscal year, they've chosen to wait another year. And they will be coming on. They've assured us that they will be coming on in fiscal 19-20, right? Fiscal year 20. Right, yeah. So Right, the DEA is helping us, ADAPT, which is our regional coalition, is helping us broker the deal so that they will become an active participant in Municipal Alliance. DEA has rolled out a new program for Newark called 360, and in that they will be training Newark staff and volunteers, and in that training, that will help train them to run a municipal alliance and develop a board and do the things they need to do. And we, since Liz has been coordinator of Municipal Alliance, which has been a little over a year, about a year and a half, actually 2 years, okay. She's really been in the trenches and working with each municipal alliance to straighten out all the details and things that they have to do to make their job a little more seamless, because it's a voluminous amount of paperwork that has to be done. So, and Liz supports them beautifully. We're actually very happy to have her and lucky to have her do such a great job.
Thank you. Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that you're doing so much work in terms of having Newark join us, and I look forward to the day soon when they really do and they're on this list. Thank you.
We all do.
We've been waiting for this for quite a while.
We allotted monies for them this year, and it put us in a really tough position because we had a feeling they were on the fence and they weren't going to come, and it meant that we had to, right, but it meant that we had to then go back, take their monies, and reallocate to every of the other 20 towns, and it's a headache. But we went to the mat with them. We gave them a deadline. We met with them personally. We had very long discussions, and I have a good feeling about it. I mean, I spoke to Dr. Wade, Chris from DEA. We have a really good feeling that finally, after about 4 years of not participating, that they will now be participating in fiscal year 20.
In which year?
Fiscal year 20.
20.
Yeah.
So that would be July
19
to
June 30th.
Well, I hope it all
20.
works out.
Yeah, so do we. each town is unique, and each town has its own set of problems, but the huge problem of this epidemic is having people die in the streets. And right now, those of us who are working on the alcohol grant and in this opioid crisis are in the business of saving lives. And it's almost worse, if not worse, than the AIDS crisis in the late 80s, early 90s. And we really have to pay serious attention and put all our efforts out there. And we are really, we in Essex County, with the monies that we get funded through the state, from the state, are doing a bang-up job. I have to say that I'm really proud of our team. Roberto Alvarez is our alcohol monitor for alcohol grant, our program monitor for the alcohol grant. And we work very hard to make sure that as many people as possible are taken care of under the Chapter 51 grant. And Liz does a great job with the prevention and education piece for the municipal alliances. So I'm very proud of this group. They do a super job.
Great. That's great. Mr. Anyanwu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
I'm sorry, I think I'm ready to talk about the next one. We're talking about number 10, correct?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
I have
We're on
questions.
Resolution 10.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Freeholders? Just one small comment. I'm happy to hear we're making progress, but still somewhat disappointed to hear that, based on what was reported before about the city of Newark, that we're still do not have their participation. So I'm glad that we're getting closer, but I continue to be baffled by the fact that the city cannot figure this out.
Through you, Mr. President, I'm just trying to understand as to why wouldn't the city of Newark participate, considering the extent of the problem throughout the city as well as throughout the county. What in your guess could be the reasons why they're not participating?
My guess, my opinion is that in the past, the way the grant was handled and the support that was given to them from our office may not have been as strong as we can guarantee the support to be now. And they, at the time when I came to this division, they were getting $97,000, and it baffled all of us when they said, we're not interested in that money anymore. And they could throw away $97,000 because it wasn't worth it to them to do the paperwork. We get it, but we get it from that perspective, but like I said, when we're in the business of saving lives at this point, we don't get it.
Right.
And look, what we have are limited resources, and we're willing to share
Right.
and to help people do the best job they possibly can to help kids not become addicted to smoking or marijuana or any kind of a drug, prescription, illicit, otherwise. And I don't think it's that they don't care. The issue really is, from my perspective, is that they'd like us to give them the money and not ask any questions. And unfortunately, we have a lot of questions to ask. So we're a headache. We need to make sure they spend the money in the way we require them to spend the money, and that the programs are evidence-based programs. And so, you can't just buy 1 million T-shirts with the money we give you. You have to do something positive with it and show us that you're actually making an impact on the people you're educating or attempting to educate.
And is this the 4th year that they've not participated?
It's at least the 4th year. I've been in this division 6 years, and it's at least the 4th year.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed to hear
They dropped
that.
out when I came, so maybe it's 6 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Thank
we've
you.
made great strides. And actually, I have to say the DEA has been very positive in helping us. So I think that in part has made a big difference too.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Freeholder. Any further questions or comments, Freeholders, on resolution number 10? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 11. Please read it.
Resolution 11, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of Community Health Services, acceptance of letter of intent for 2019 County Comprehensive Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Services Grant in the amount of $1,487,309.
Thank you, Ms. President. Eileen Fishman, Essex County Community Health Services. This is our grant for the coming year. As you may note, we have an additional $160,000 that we were given in this grant because of the issues we have in the county. We could be now number 3 in heroin deaths. We keep moving up to a higher number, which is not what we want to do, or a lower number. But unfortunately, that's our circumstance, and the need was seen, and so we've gotten in this year over last year an extra $160,000 in this grant. The grant monies are used to support people who are indigent poor people who need help with and resources for rehabilitation and recovery. And it could be from paying for a detox, inpatient detox program, to paying for outpatient, intensive outpatient, halfway houses, and prevention and education, as well as recovery resources. Because now we do a lot of recovery services as a part of the continuum of care. We're finding more and more that people are going into detox, into OPs, IOPs, they're doing everything they need, and then they're coming out and they don't have a place to live, they don't have ID because they've lived on the streets and they've lost all that important stuff. They can't get a job without ID. There are so many mitigating factors, and in order to remain in recovery, you have to be lifted up and get back into society and feel good about yourself. And our recovery support services, part of this grant, helps people do that. So it is really actually an important piece.
Thank you. Freeholders? Counselor?
No question.
Mr. McInerney?
This has a pretty high county match to it as well. It's saying here 224,000. Is that cash or is that in kind?
It's cash.
It's in kind?
Sorry.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Freeholders?
I didn't hear the response. Was that cash or is that in kind? In kind? Okay.
Additional questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Jones.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 12. Please read it.
Resolution 12, the Office of the County of Administrator, IT Office, contract award to CDW Government LLC for the purchase of Microsoft Office 365 countywide yearly license renewal under the state contract number 89849, amount not to exceed $843,668.89.
Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, our CIO, Mr. Hunt, is here to address this issue.
Carl Hunt, Chief Information Officer. The purpose of this license is used for the daily use of the county. So what we did was to increase security and to reduce costs and to take better advantage of the state contract. We went around the county, found out each department that was using it, incorporated in one. So the first part of this license takes care of Microsoft Word, email, PowerPoint, Excel, and the second part of the license takes care of the Customer Relations Manager, which is what DFAB used to manage their customer service of the intake and outtake of the Essex County's users.
Mr. An Wu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Is this just a contract, is this license just for a year? Or?
No, this is for a year. It's a 3-year contract. This is the second year.
Is the total amount for the 3 years? Or?
No, that's the total amount per year.
Per year.
So it's a per seat usage that equates to the amount of users that we have to.
And
So
is
it's
this pretty much it? Is this pretty much applied to most of the systems within the county? Or?
Yes, it does.
And that's what we're trying to uniform it, where everything's trying to get uniform in
Yes.
terms of the systems that we're on.
Correct.
Thank you.
Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Jones.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 13.
Resolution 13, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, approval of list of qualified licensed engineering firms eligible for selection on a project-by-project basis for rendering of engineering design and construction inspection services for Essex County bridges and culverts for a 1-year period.
Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, as you know, members of the board know, we have an extensive bridge and culvert system here in the county. This list of consultants will allow the engineering department to go out and on a project-by-project basis to engage the services of various firms who are on this list. This was a publicly advertised fair and open RFQ. It was a qualified list for 1 year, and the vendors, any vendors with services over 17.5 will come back to the board for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. An Wu?
No question.
Mr. McInerney?
I just didn't get that last point. Any engineer over
17, we'll come back.
okay. Over 17.5 will come to the board. All right. Now, this is just a blanket, like we do for attorneys or.
That's correct, Frank. Yes.
There's no problem.
Okay. Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bauer.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 14.
Resolution 14, Office of County Administrator, request for approval of emergency declaration payment for the dismantling and replacing of shelving and cabinets and flooring at the Hall of Records cafeteria to Home Trust Development Corp. in the amount of $52,500.
Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, on June 28th, due to some health and safety concerns specifically regarding some mold and mildew that we found as we were looking to improve the cafeteria, we declared a health emergency on that date to address some flooring and cabinetry issues. That work is now completed, and we're looking to now make the payment to the vendor. And I hope that the board has seen the improvement in that facility since we've made the improvements. There's some things more to come, but it certainly looks brighter, better, cleaner, and a more modern, I think, comfortable setting for our employees and the other people who come to visit Essex County.
Thank you. Mr. Anyan Wu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to move to resolution number 49. Please read it, Madam.
Resolution 49, resolution accepting the 2017 county audit as prepared by Samuel Klein and Company. General comments and recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this is a fairly, I guess, a perfunctory function of the board to accept the audit and its findings, and it's simple as that, I guess I would say.
Thank you. Mr. Anyan Wu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Mr. President and the board, this is a very interesting document. As I've said each year, it contains the current fund, which basically is our operating budget and our balance sheet that shows the cash position of the county in the current operating fund, as well as any monies from last year that haven't been spent. It also has a grant fund, federal and state grants, that show us what the revenue, what the receivables are, how much is still owed by the federal, state, government with regards to grants owed to the county, as well as monies that are set aside and reserved for those grants. It also has a capital fund. That's where we do all our capital improvements are funded out of the general capital fund. It has a trust fund, which is the dedicated funds where we see a lot of our accounts that don't necessarily run through the operating budget. Things like forfeiture funds and beautification funds. Things have a specific identification of where the receipts and have to go and where the disbursements are allowed to be expended from. The footnotes and disclosures of the financial statements are also very interesting in terms of outlining the amount of debt that the county has and any exposures that it might have, any contingent liabilities. It gives us our significant accounting policies as well. And the supplemental information is just as interesting in a lot of ways. It breaks down a lot of what is in our current fund, our general capital fund, our trust fund, and federal and state grant fund. In addition, we have very few comments this year with regard to problems that the auditors came upon during the course of applying their audit procedures. We usually get a much more detailed report from them, but from a materiality standpoint, there's really very little to talk about. Samuel Klein has done a very good job for us over the years, and the report, as far as I'm concerned, given the size of the county, and that this report was done probably a couple weeks ago. It was in draft format, had to go through the county, if not a few weeks ago. This is a very timely report to get for a county of this size, to have it in on time. It didn't go in exactly on time, it went in close. It did go in on time?
No, it's much better than last year and the year before.
Freeholder Siebel?
Thank you. I would like to comment that Sam Klein Company has done an excellent job for Essex County for so many years. And although there aren't too many problems this year, and you said there were more prior to this year, last year there weren't that many. In the past few years, there really haven't been that many. I remember years ago when there was a tremendous number, and they've been doing such a good job. And I think we're really fortunate that we have them doing such good work for us.
If I might, Mr. President. Sure. I just want to make a point. There's always issues in a county of this size.
Always, right.
There's always issues. What we're talking about is materiality. We're talking about issues that have to be, dealt with, that are extremely important, to have a material effect on our financial statements. I'm sure there's other issues, but they're just not big enough to warrant reporting. Doesn't mean that there's not another list somewhere where other things have to be done, but from a significant standpoint, what we're concerned about is anything that has a material impact, or where internal controls have been overrode by management or others. Those are the kind of things that we want to know about. So that does not, this is a clean opinion. The only thing unclean about our opinion is that we don't use general accepted accounting principles in the state of New Jersey for counties and municipalities. We use a statutory methodology, which is a exception in the opinion paragraph for that, and I think is the only.
I'm sorry, Mr. What was the last part of what you just said?
We use a regulatory, or you want to call it a statutory basis of accounting. It's not general accepted accounting principles. In general accepted accounting principles, your revenues are recognized when you actually earn them. Here at Essex County and the municipalities in the state of New Jersey, your revenues are recognized when you deposit them, when you collect them and deposit them. That's extremely conservative. That means you cannot record a dollar of revenue until it's in your hand, or better yet, in your bank account. On the other hand, which is even more conservative, on the expense side, if you appropriate, let's just say, $100,000 for an engineering contract, even though that engineer hasn't started that job or put 1 hour into it or even sent you a bill yet, you just spent $100,000. So New Jersey has one of the, as far as I'm concerned, New Jersey's accounting system, it has been a blessing in terms of not relying on estimates, because once you recognize a revenue that you earned but you didn't collect, you have a receivable. Now you have to estimate whether you're going to collect that receivable, and that's where people start playing with numbers. Here, that's not the case. So I think New Jersey's system has saved many a municipality from games people play, let's say, and I'm an RMA, a registered municipal accountant, do a number of audits, and I'm very impressed with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 50.
Resolution 50, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, contract award to IBN Construction Corp., the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, to provide building demolition at 81 South 11th Street, Newark, New Jersey, 60-day agreement, amount not to exceed $51,000.
Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, this is a property that will be used as part of the new vocational school, the Payne Technology School. We received 4 bids from 34 potential vendors. This vendor is from Newark, and we're going to be using capital funds for this demolition. The vendor completed the aspirational goal form, and in fact, all 15 of its employees are from Essex County.
Thank you. Mr. Anyanwu?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney? Okay. Freeholders?
If I may, Mr.
Sure, Freeholder
President.
Bauer, of course.
County Administrator, where is this property exactly? Is it across the street from the school on 11th?
I would say across from the, well, at the back of the school, I would say. So if you think about the back
Yeah.
part of the school is behind.
Like where we
behind
went
the
into the
school.
parking garage when we were visiting?
Sort of on that side, yeah.
Is it a house?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to move to resolutions number 15 through 48, which are all commendations. Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to take resolutions 15 through number 48?
So move.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson, absent. Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Freeholders, do we have any reports of boards, committees? Legislative reports? Written communications? Unfinished business? New business? Freeholders, do we have any new business to discuss? Public comment?
Good evening, Cassandra Dock, P.O. Box 25331 North. It's been a long time since I've been here. Some new faces, new positions, old faces. Real interesting. First, let me thank Freeholder Wayne Richardson, who helped me out a couple of weeks, last week. We were able to bring a sewing workshop to the camp on 12th Street in Newark with his help, so I want to thank him for that. Then, secondly, I want to talk about, did we have the ribbon cutting for the school yet? When you had it? Oh my God, how did I miss that? So I missed it. Oh wow, so I missed that. Also, is this something new, or did you, in the past, maybe it's always been like this, when you have contractors, do you not list the addresses of the contractors? Like where they're located? Like for instance, you know, I'm happy to hear the fact that Ibn Contracting is from Newark. They're local, they're from Newark, and they have like 50 employees. But where you guys don't include their address, so like, you know, we wanted to give them a shout out and give them credit, we would be able to do that. We don't include, because I don't see it in none of the resolutions.
I've deferred to Mr.
Who, Gil?
President in terms of the answering questions.
Madam Clerk.
He didn't hear it.
I did hear you, but I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, is there?
Yes, we can respond in writing to your
Oh,
questions.
yeah, that's right, Ms. Carter. Okay, no problem. And then the reason why I came tonight is because at Weekway Park we have, and I'm glad that we have options in terms of sports, you know, soccer, baseball, and football. But what I don't like is the fact that we have one football field, but we have 4 or 5 soccer fields. And I think we have like 2 baseball fields, which is okay. But the problem I'm having is like soccer last year, because, you know, our kids do, you know, play football. And I don't think that we're trying to push one sport on our kids by having 4 soccer fields there. I hope not. You know, I'm glad that's an option for our kids, but we're not going to push a specific sport on our kids. And the problem we had last year was you have 4 soccer fields. Why does soccer have to take over the football field? So whoever is in charge of, I guess that's Dan, it's probably Dan, and so
30
reach
seconds.
out to Dan. I'm sorry, Ms. Carter?
Almost time.
Oh, okay, reach out to Dan to let Dan know that this year we're not going to have soccer take over the football field. The football field is for football. That's what it's for, and that's what it's going to be. And lastly, I would like for the freeholders to help us out with getting mats at Westside Gym, Rufus, so that we can have a tumbling program. So,
Your time is
you know,
up.
we had, okay. I'll come back next, when I meet you guys and everything. So-
Okay, thank you. Thank you. If there's any member of the public who'd like to comment on any matter, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Freeholder comment session. If there's any questions or comments. I believe, Madam Clerk, everyone should have received an email or a memorandum. He actually just stepped out, but I was going to welcome our new member to our Freeholder staff, our new Public Information Officer, if you haven't met him yet. Mr. Chala Malumba, who's doing such a good job, he quit already. Charlie, I don't know if you had a chance to speak to everybody. If you want to come to the microphone, introduce yourself to the board.
Hello. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Chala Malumba. I'm the new Public Information Officer with the Freeholders Office. I had the pleasure of meeting a few of you around the building, and I'm happy to be here. I don't have to go into a whole long story, about my background. I don't want to be here past midnight, but I'm very into kind of media relations and the public and putting a good face on all the good work that all of you do, in the community and for the state and for the county. So I'll be reaching out to each of you individually just to kind of touch base, get to know you, get to know a little bit about what you're about. And then you'll just help me do my job, help me help you guys do your job, and then we can go forward. But it's a pleasure meeting everybody. It was a good first meeting. It had some excitement. It had some intrigue, and I'm just happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Madam Clerk will be scheduling, I believe, meetings with each individual member and Chalo to hopefully enhance our existing communications effort and filling the spot of, sorry, it's a little long day. Medina, thank you. Who had moved on to Assemblywoman Timberlake's office. So, thank you. Phil, there's any other, thank you. Yeah, you're trying, you have too much multitasking right now. Phil, there's any additional questions or comments? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thanks.
Yes.
So